In this video, we are going to show you the summary of 1984 by George Orwell. So, let's start. Winston Smith lived in a cold, gray city where nothing felt alive except the loud voice of the party. Huge posters covered every wall, showing the face of Big Brother watching with calm but frightening eyes. Loudspeakers shouted news, orders, and warnings all day. No one could escape the sound. People spoke softly and looked over their shoulders, afraid that even their thoughts could betray them. Winston worked in the Ministry of Truth. Every morning he sat at his desk reading old newspapers and changing them. If the party said something wrong in the past, Winston erased it and wrote a new version. When food rations were cut, the party announced an increase. Winston made the old news match the lie. Sometimes he destroyed proof that people ever existed. When someone was arrested and disappeared, Winston erased their name from history. It was as if they had never lived. At night, Winston returned to his small apartment. A telescreen watched him constantly, listening for strange sounds or suspicious movements. Winston felt trapped, like a man living inside a cage. Yet inside him lived a quiet rebellion. He believed life had once been better. He remembered his mother's gentle face and the feeling of real love. Those memories hurt him because they were fading. One day, Winston entered an old shop in a poor part of the city. There, he bought a small diary with blank pages. He hid it in his room and began writing his thoughts. His hand trembled as he wrote that he hated Big Brother. The words shocked him, but they also gave him peace. For the first time, he felt human. At work, Winston noticed a young woman named Julia. She wore the red belt of the party's youth group and seemed loyal. Winston feared she was watching him. Then one day, she secretly slipped him a note that said she loved him. His heart pounded with fear and hope. After careful planning, they met secretly in the countryside. Away from the telescreens, they talked freely. They lay in the grass, laughing and sharing memories. For a short time, the world felt normal again. They later found a small rented room above the old shop. It had no telescreen, and they believed they were safe. There, they spent many quiet afternoons together. Winston told Julia about his childhood and his dreams. Julia spoke about small ways she broke party rules. They believed love itself was an act of rebellion. Winston also thought about O'Brien, an important party member who once spoke kindly to him. Winston believed O'Brien was secretly against the party. One day, O'Brien invited Winston and Julia to his home. There, he spoke about fighting the party and gave Winston a forbidden book, explaining how the party controlled people through fear, lies, and endless war. Winston felt hope grow inside him, like light in darkness. But their safety was an illusion. One evening, soldiers crashed into their room. A hidden telescreen had been watching them all along. O'Brien stood calmly among the officers. He had never been their friend. Winston and Julia were arrested and taken away. Winston woke in the Ministry of Love, a place filled with screens. Guards beat him until he could barely stand. Days and nights mixed together. Hunger and pain made him weak. O'Brien questioned him gently, almost kindly, while torturing him. He said the party did not just want obedience. It wanted control over truth itself. If the party said 2 + 2 = 5, it must be believed. Winston tried to hold on to his memories of Julia and freedom, but the pain was endless. Finally, O'Brien sent him to room 101, where his greatest fear waited. A cage of hungry rats was brought near his face. Terrified, Winston screamed for Julia to take his place. At that moment, his love died, and his spirit broke. Later, Winston was released. He wandered through the city like a ghost. He spent his days drinking gin in a cafe. He no longer wrote in the diary. He no longer dreamed. One afternoon he met Julia. They spoke quietly and admitted they had both betrayed each other. Their love was gone, replaced by emptiness. One day, Winston heard news that Oceania had won a great war. People cheered. Winston looked at Big Brother's face on a screen. Tears came to his eyes. He felt relief and strange happiness. At last, he loved Big Brother. Winston's story ended in silence. His rebellion faded, his memories changed, and his heart surrendered. The world continued as before, filled with loud voices and fearful people walking under endless posters. The story ends with Winston alive but empty, showing how fear and lies can destroy a person slowly. It reminds readers to value truth, love, and freedom, because without them, even a living person can lose their soul forever.